The following podcast may be explicit. One Joe Young presents Adventures from the Shed, a tabletop RPG podcast. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com.
Hello and welcome to The Shed for Adventures from the Shed. If you're just joining us, grab a seat at the table and make yourself comfortable. If you've been with us before, settle into your spot as I reintroduce the show. I'm Joe, and I've hosted the podcast Adventures from the Shed since September 2014. AFTS started in the shed in my backyard. The shed is about 8 by 12 feet. It was originally intended as a home for my riding lawnmower and some other tools. There's one roll-up door on the right side and a regular people door at the front. The front and back of the shed hold standard house windows, and it's got the same siding and shingles as our family home. When it was originally built, the interior wasn't finished, as in it didn't have insulation or drywall. A few years went by and I realized the shed presented a fabulous opportunity to be a music studio or audio space, so I took it upon myself to put in the insulation, drywall, heating, and air conditioning. It ended up about as rough as you could imagine for someone who has never done that type of work before. At least I had the help of a buddy of mine who did help me finish it up. The opening and closing music for AFTS was taken from jam sessions he and I had way back then. Around 2012, I found some audio podcasts of people playing tabletop role-playing games, and I realized I really enjoyed listening to others playing RPGs as entertainment while I relaxed, or worked, or commuted, or just about anywhere I could put in some earbuds and let their stories entertain me through the day. One thing that would stick out over the next year or so was the average to poor audio quality on some of these podcasts. This, again, goes way back to around 2010, 12, 13, that time frame. And I thought to myself, I play tabletop RPGs. I have a space and equipment to make decent audio. And, maybe more importantly, I want to try that myself. So there we were, September 2014, Mickey, JJ, Mike, Kurt, and me. I put a wireless headset mic on each of us, each mic plugged into an audio interface feeding all 5 tracks to Logic on my iMac. I spent a couple minutes before each recording making sure the microphones were in the right position on each person's head, checking audio levels on each person, and then fussing over these things continuously through the day. Those first sessions we put down on digital audio centered around the Dungeons & Dragons starter set with the Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure. We got about 16 episodes of actual play, and a few episodes I categorized as sidebars where we talked about the adventure and discussed RPG topics in general. Through 2015, 16, 17, and 18, we changed up the games, the game masters, and even some of the cast as we played through more D&D, Pathfinder, Star Wars, Star Trek, Shadowrun, and Dungeon World. As I go back through my memories for content, I realize I'm bound to leave stuff out. So if you had favorites I didn't mention, feel free to comment or send a note to adventuresfromtheshed@gmail.com. One thing I had dabbled in over the years was trying to get some of the podcast on video, with varying levels of success. You can find some of that up on the YouTube channel. As we closed in on the end of 2019 and rolled into 2020, the global pandemic hit and the world in general had to face some changes. This included AFTS. By 2021, I was working with some new faces to bring the podcast back as an online podcast. The technology was good enough to satisfy my need to have decent audio quality, so I brought back Adventures from the Shed online. We also streamed the show more than once, leading me to come up with a new logo and named that project Adventures from the Stream. We had quite a bit of fun playing various RPG systems and working with different technologies to share a virtual tabletop on the screen. I continued to release each episode as an audio podcast, although it was a bit more work since I wanted to keep the audio episodes near 1 hour when we were actually playing straight through for several hours in most cases. Anyways, life, work, family, you know the story. The podcast fell off a couple of times and months would go by with no new content. Well, we're coming back to the virtual shed, the virtual table, with virtual dice and real people as we reintroduce Adventures from the Shed. I've assembled a team of players, including one new person, to start back at the beginning, kinda. we'll be playing the more recent Dungeons & Dragons starter set. Stay tuned as we get ourselves ready to kick it back off in early October 2023. Thanks for sticking around through the years and hundreds of episodes. I'll do my best to keep it entertaining for you through these upcoming audio and video sessions, including streaming live episodes. If you like what we do, please rate, comment, share, like, subscribe, and all that other stuff that lets us know you appreciate it as much as we appreciate you. With that, I'll wrap up this reintroduction episode and say bye.
The preceding podcast was brought to you by One Joe Young. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com.